So one of the big changes that a lot of operators have made across this pandemic period is that they've kind of generally reduced the size of their menus. So what does that picture look like at the moment from Lumina's point of view?
Yeah, I think it's great to be here as well. I think initially it was sort of because of the operational challenges. Lots of operators were sort of having to deal with smaller areas in kitchens, lots of staff being off sick. And I think smaller menus at that point sort of allowed them to still deliver that really high quality, high consistency offer just with a smaller sort of menu size. But what we've actually found since operators have launched their spring summer 2021 menus is that although that they've added a few more sort of dishes back to those menus, they still remain notably smaller than they were pre-pandemic. And I think, as Ashley spoke about, the pandemic sort of accelerated their movements to like what they were going to do before. We've actually seen in the wider market that the pandemic has like accelerated a lot of pre-existing trends. So delivery obviously is one. But another one of those trends is operators sort of being more specialised and having a more specialised range of offers on their menu. I think it shows that sort of brands that are being able to diversify and sort of have that really specialised, really focused offering are popular with consumers. Consumers know what to expect when they go to those sorts of restaurants. And it's this sort of less trying to be everything for everybody and just trying to sort of do what you do really well to the best that you could possibly do it. And that's what we're seeing. So yeah, a lot of operators still have got smaller menus, and I personally think that is going to be the case going forward. I think you've got to be very clever with what you add to your menus. And yeah, at the moment we are seeing still reduced menus to about 15-20% smaller than they were pre-pandemic, and I think there's a sort of a lot of reasons behind that.
So is there any sector of the market at the moment that's not actually gone down that road, that has tried something different?
So from what we track in Menu Tracker, the smaller menus is across the board. So it's something that we're seeing in the pub and bar market. We're seeing across chain restaurants and also traditional and contemporary fast food as well. But what's interesting is players sort of more contemporary fast food, a lot of their offers, a lot of their core offers, if we think about the sort of Mexican burrito guys and those sorts of offerings, they are they're customizable. So actually you could have one sort of dish on the menu, but consumers can order it however they like, and that could sort of amalgamate into 10 different versions of one dish. And customization is a trend that we've seen come through really strongly in the last few menu seasons, because I think it allows operators to maintain that element of choice for consumers, and it aligns with that consumer trend for like a more personalized experience. But it does so without actually making it life a lot more difficult for the kitchen staff. What you were saying, Ashley, where you've sort of experimented with different kinds of sauces and different kinds of offerings, but sort of trying to nail the portion sizes, I think that's going to be something that is an important factor going forwards as well. It already has been, but I think one thing that the pandemic really brought to sort of the reality is how much of an issue food waste is. And I think lots of operators are now taking the time to evaluate their menus and spot where the sort of problem areas are with things that constantly get wasted, and managing those things like portion control, maybe side dishes that aren't as popular and tend to get wasted a lot more. That's another area where operators can really manage their costs, and that's going to be something that I think we see going forward a lot more as well.
Management, simplicity. So looking forwards, do you think that most operators are keen to carry on that way, that that's going to happen continuously over the next few years, or is there this kind of reticence to do that because they fear that they'll be driving customers away?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, I think this was a pre-pandemic sort of trend that got accelerated in the last couple of years. If we look at some of the bigger chain restaurants, sort of your Prezzo, your Ask Italian, they actually saw their menus be quite heavily streamlined across sort of 2018, 2019, when there was lots of pressures around CVAs and closures, and the chain restaurant sector is something that's transitioned hugely in the last 3 years. So I think in those segments already consumers are used to sort of a more specialised, a more refined menu offer. And I think that there has been an element of consumers not really being that fussed, as long as they've got enough sort of vegetarian, vegan options. The gluten-free side of it is becoming really important as well. I think as long as there's enough options for each different kind of dietary requirement, then consumers really, I think they expect a more specialised offer now, and they expect a higher level of quality, a higher level of experience. And if you want a pizza, you'd go to a restaurant that specialises in pizzas. If you wanted some sort of chicken, you'd go to like maybe Bird, a restaurant that specialises in that sort of fried chicken area. So I think a lot of consumers now make the decision of where they're going based on the specific food that they want to eat. And that's where we're seeing the growth come from in that sort of chain restaurant space. We've got steak restaurants that just specialise in steak. We've got chicken restaurants that specialise in chicken. And I think that's where the market is headed. Certainly for like pub restaurants, there is a level of expectation among consumers that they'll be able to get sort of their pub classics, and now they want sort of healthier and lighter options as well. I think it's about managing the message and managing the menu so that you can maintain those sorts of consumer favourites, and you can also introduce sort of newer, maybe more on-trend offerings, but not to a level where the kitchen just becomes completely overwhelmed. And maybe there's an element to it where they need to review the menus more, not more efficiently, but more often, and make quicker changes when something isn't selling well or something's being wasted quite a bit. So yeah, I think overall smaller menus are here to stay, and I don't think that that's a bad thing at all.
No,